Homelessness 2.0, day 30. COVID's fake. But wait, it was manufactured in China. But wait, it's not deadly. But wait, we still gotta get ivermectin in our system so that we don't suffer from COVID. But wait, Trump was like, let's push the vaccine as hard as possible. He was a hero in this. But wait, the vaccines are deadly, and now they're gonna hurt us. And these mandates, they're oppression. Fuck's wrong with you people? Oh wait, I know. I know exactly what's wrong with you. You don't have answers. They are not tied up. They're not wrapped in a nice pretty box with a nice tied little bow and just being content with that level of certainty. Because uncertainty for humans is terrifying. You are scared. You are scared of the unknown. And you know what? It's kind of okay. It's okay to be scared. Because that's a human behavior. That's understandable. That's expected of so many things. It's okay to be scared. You're allowed to be scared. But what you're not allowed to do is make shit up and get the narrative in front of the facts. That is how misinformation spreads and how so many of these problems are what they are. Ivermectin is being studied for its efficacy against COVID. Just because there are people out there who took it and said they're fine, that's not a study. That's an idiot. You know, like, let the scientists do their damn work. Come on. Oh, but China's doing this and so-and-so's doing that. Well, like, oh, wait, why do you just trust random fucking people then? If you're willing to trust any random person, but wait, you don't trust any random person, you trust specific people. You trust authorities. You trust somebody that, even if they're not an authority in the field of medicine, they're an authority in your life. Your mom and dad, your grandma, some dude you've listened to on the news for who knows how long, some podcaster that you've listened to and you agree with on a regular basis. You listen to those people because they are authority figures in your life. They are the leaders wherein you follow. The people I listen to, the authority figures in my life, are the ones, when it comes to this, are the people who approach science as what it is. A field in which many things can happen. Not all of them happen exactly the same way. And then within that field, they talk with each other and try to make sense of things. And they're like, hey, I did your study and I got really different results from you. This is one of the things that is often not mentioned when there is a conflicting study out there. That's normal. You need to realize this. It is normal for conflicting studies to exist. The problem, however, is then we see one conflicting study and then we create in our minds this false equivalency that that it's equivalent. Literally both of these studies, and the funny thing is often they don't find another study that invalidates what they said. I don't do it, you don't do it, nobody fucking does it because it's really hard to find shit like that sometimes. And it's often very difficult to read something that does not confirm your bias. We have a very difficult fucking time listening to information that is contradictory to what we've already said in our brains. I do my best to try to do that. And I hope you do too. And if you do not, I hope you begin to try to do that. It's difficult. In fact, and yet another thing that we're talking about, another bias, another issue, the backfire effect. When we are presented with information that is contradictory from what we know to be real, we have a visceral, real, physical response to that kind of information. I can't remember exactly which one. I think it's the sympathetic, but whatever. The fight or flight kicks in. And it's either the sympathetic or parasympathetic nervous system. I can't remember which one it is because my brain isn't letting me do the thing right now because I'm doing other things. But it's the thing that that pumps your adrenaline, gets you ready to fight. You either stop sweating or you start sweating whenever there is like real danger. Okay, so we have in our evolved brains a system that lets us figure out whether or not we're going to fight something or we're going to run away from it because it's a real physical danger to us. And yet, it fucked up in its wiring, and now things that aren't actually real threats to us, simply contradictory information from what we've already learned, gives us the same physiological response. We want to literally, physically fight information. How stupid is this brain of ours? Like, anybody who thinks that humans are like brilliant and like created with whatever, like just the most optimal. No, we're none of that. We are an accident. We are an evolutionary accident. There's some intentionality between a lot of these steps, but for all intents and purposes, we're a giant fucking accident. Like, the reason why that system in our brain works is because it kept us alive, and then we just so happen to be alive long enough to have children. And then that's all it takes. That's all evolution is, by the way. It's something that keeps you alive long enough to have kids. That's it. That's all that you need. That's why there's a lot of stupidity out there, because they can be stupid long enough to have kids. And that's it. That's all it takes. And whatever trait they had, it's not to say that the stupidity was the thing that kept them alive, but maybe it could have been. You don't know that. I mean, I'm a smart person. I'm not saying that I'm smarter than you or anybody you know or any of that bullshit. I'm a smart person. I have to come to that because I've always thought I was stupid. Okay? I'm saying that for my sake, but also for anybody who wants to think otherwise. They can go fuck themselves. I'm a smart person, but I have problems procreating. I'm not an incel. I used to be. I might still be a little bit, but I'm not that whatever bullshit that's going on. I used to be that. There's a lot of voluntary things with regards to my celibacy, if you want to call it that. I mean, I'm not in a position to have a relationship or to have kids, and I don't want to have kids anyway. So there you go. Evolutionary lineage cut off. Everything that is me that could keep people surviving, I'm cutting that shit off. Because I don't want to survive anyway. So there you go. Why would you want that? It worked itself out. Yay! Evolution for the win again. So, why am I talking about all this shit? Well, because people are talking about all this shit. The sheer fact that people are pissed off that we're getting boosters. Do you know what the flu shot is every year? It's a booster. That's all it is. Because the flu mutates every year. And what do? They figure out some 6 months ago in the southern hemisphere, for the most part, what is likely to be spreading across the world. Why the southern hemisphere? Why 6 months ago? Interesting. That's a strange piece of information to just toss out there, Justin. Well, maybe it's not. And that's the shit that's been waking me up for the last 4 days or whatever. What happens now? By the way, I don't aim it down. I don't aim up at me to like create some sort of weird sense of like authoritarianism or bullshit. It's because my arm's tired. That's the only reason. Hell, at this point, I can't fucking. Damn it. I can't even have it set right. Ugh. God damn it. This table is too slippery. Anyway. So, it's flu season, right? Like, that's a thing that happens. It kind of didn't happen last year. I wondered why. Because something else was out there. And it's still here. And so far, right now, if you look at the past 2 years, because COVID's been around for nearly 2 years now, you will see a trend that if you're intelligent enough, you'll see that you don't like. If you look at our numbers now for this year and you compare them to last year's numbers, you will see that we have more COVID cases. So why is it that it's just in time for another variant? Because we didn't fucking do anything to stop it. Like, there were people out there right at the beginning, flatten the curve, flatten the curve. Why did we want to flatten the curve again? We wanted to flatten the curve so that we didn't overload the hospitals. The whole point of the concept of the curve was there will be an increase in cases. And if that increase reaches a specific capacity, it will be over the capacity of the hospitals to be able to properly handle it. And as such, if we go over that capacity and the hospitals cannot properly handle it, care will be mitigated. It will be less than what it could be. It will mean that people who are not sick with COVID or whatever it may be are going to be triaged out of the building. There's people who have fallen for or otherwise just belligerently fought against, and again, the whole fight or flight system, it's a stupid fucking thing. It doesn't help that we've had misinformation going along for so long, and then of course, there's the coincidence. It's a coincidence because there's yet literally no proof. Like, you can start looking and you can think you found proof, but there's still no actual proof that China made this virus. It began the virus began in China. But then what's also in China? I don't know. The most people on the planet in a singular country, a very large country with a lot of wilderness, and two animals that have been considered to be the main vectors of the natural origin theory, bats and pangolins. And bats are goddamn flying petri dishes. Like, I don't remember the numbers, but I think they typically, on their own, and this is one of the reasons why, like, we don't like them flying around our civilized areas, and why, if there is one nearby, you usually want to get checked for something, especially if they bite you. Hey, PSA, by the way, you get bitten by a bat, go test for rabies immediately, because that's a possibility, okay? They can pass rabies on to you if they bite you. Yet somehow we can't think that they could pass on something else if you ate their flesh or if you got bitten by them or something. China has been acting like an asshole for a while. We, as this country, America, and many other countries, unfortunately, have subjected themselves to this xenophobic jingoism of everybody else sucks, we're the best. And that has promulgated across the internet. There has been so many people of so many different countries who have been able to come together under the same stupid ideologies that they're the best and fuck anybody who doesn't look like us type thing. And then you have, mouthpieces like fuckhead Carlson, who is literally a mouthpiece for white supremacy, and it has been going on for more, like, it's been going on strong since 9/11. After the Cold War ended, and I was a kid when it ended, and I didn't really know much about it. I didn't actually truly know what the Cold War was. I didn't even know it ended when I was a child. I thought it was this thing that had happened a long time ago. I mean, fuck, I'm old, but I'm not old, but I am, in that only 12 years before I was born did we land on the damn moon. And yes, we landed on the moon. What are you, one of them fucking weird people who think the moon's real? That's that's the conspiracy theory that you throw out when people are like, man, we didn't land on the moon. What, you think the moon's real? Fucking wake up, sheeple. We've had problems across this globe for a long time. And there are people right now who they were my age when the Cold War had just ended. And just like when the Afghanistan war effectively just ended, I'm sure in their brains, just like in mine, we don't really think it's over. As much as we might want it to be. We pulled out of Afghanistan, great. Does that mean it's really over? Does that mean that the threat that we feared because of whatever information that we acquired, does that mean that it's over? And then you might be wondering, well, why skip over to the war thing? Why aren't we talking about COVID or whatever? Because it's all the same stuff. Now, granted, much of it has been reinforced by events of the past. 9/11 comes along. So many people in this country who, again, were about my age when the Cold War ended, are now afraid of some other country. Because throughout all their life, they have been, one way or another, informed to be afraid. Which is an interesting thing if you think about it. Because fear usually comes from uncertainty. Fear doesn't usually come from knowledge. Caution typically comes from knowledge. Anger, resentment, love, joy. Those things come from knowledge. And I can see that sometimes fear might come from knowledge. But again, it depends on a lot of things too. Like, I know that there is a sound coming from the wall, but I do not know what it is coming from. It is this weird thrumming low frequency thing. For all I know, there's a giant out there throwing boulders around. But that's not true. It has something to do with whatever they're doing to the other side of this building. I know it's construction related, but if I didn't know that, I might be more afraid. But what I do know about construction is that if it's done poorly, it could affect me. That maybe my side falls on top of me at some point. But here's the thing about that. Here's the thing about that information. If I had somebody else in the other room rambling off just a bunch of shit that could happen to the house while I'm in here, I'm probably going to be more invested in what that person's saying while I'm feeling the house rumbling around me, despite the fact that such a thing is very unlikely to happen. And even if it does happen, logically speaking, it's not like it was going to happen to me. It's not like they intended on it to happen. It's just that probability happened. Probability happens all the time. When you have a person who is afraid that a plane is going to go down, and then it goes down. Well, how many other people also had the exact same fear thousands upon thousands of times a day, and planes never went down? That's a survivorship bias issue. It's a, hey, I was right, because randomly happenstance occurred. Stop being afraid. I know that doesn't help. It helped me back once in the past, and I liked it, and I still kind of do. But the thing is that it's one thing to be annoyed by something like this thrumming shit. It's another thing to be afraid of it. And if you understand what it is, it will be less likely to cause. It'll less likely have any bleh. It's less likely to cause you fear. Like, that sounds like something that, I don't know, maybe they have like a machine that, it's kind of like a jackhammer, but like a lighter version of it, to where they're like patting down, like maybe wallpaper or carpeting or something like that. Because it sounds like it's like slowly, steadily moving in a direction. Now it stopped. I don't know when an earthquake's going to happen. Even the last earthquake was like a 7 or something, and it still wasn't that bad. Because we have standards and practices that, we have housing quality requirements in this state that say, hey, it's got to be able to do well in an earthquake. You can't just be building shit and not put it up to code. You got to build shit to code. Otherwise, you're not allowed to build it. A lot of people don't like regulations. That's a regulation right there. Safety in your cars. Seatbelts, airbags, headlights, wipers, brake lights, indicators, crumple zones. Like, there's so many things inside your car that don't have an obvious direct effect on you, so you're less likely to give a shit about them. But a vaccine mandate, somehow that's a problem, because they're putting something in you and you don't know what it is. Well, look into it. Learn about it. Learn what the vaccine really is. I'm going to put a couple of videos in, pinned comment below this. It's Okay to Be Smart is a really good one. Follow SciShow. Like, you may think that Hank Green is too left-wing. I don't know, whatever. But follow a source that talks about the science. That is excited about the information, or that is somber about the information, but not about pressing a narrative or, going against the grain or whatever. That's bullshit, and that is not a way to follow news and or science. Derek from Veritasium, Electro Boom, Steve Bloom. I follow those guys. Science guys. Steve Bloom and, or not Steve Bloom, damn it. Steve Mold. Steve Bloom is a voice actor. He's awesome. Steve Mold and Electro Boom both had this great back and forth. In fact, if you ever find yourself in a position where you're finding opposite information, go back and look at the Electro Boom Steve Mold Chain Fountain series, because both of these men literally were doing scientific experiments to try to determine something, and they were both getting valid yet contradictory pieces of information. That is a series you absolutely must watch if you wish to understand what the scientific process is. It's obviously a diluted version of it, and you're probably going to hear some words that you're not going to understand. You can pause the video and look up that word. We have that technology. We can build you. We can make you stronger. There's so much information that's out there, but a lot of it is unnecessary because it's fear-mongering, or it's about making you angry because angry gets clicks, gets money. I worked just enough in the world of media and had a small enough yet efficient enough education in the world of media to understand the motives. Like, I don't know the persons, the gatekeepers specifically, but I know that when there is somebody in my classroom who, after the instructor has mentioned a hypothetical, despite them being frequent enough, school and or otherwise mass shooting, that person basically jumps in and says they want to be the first. That's a real person. Not just that specific person, but there are people in the actual media of all flavors and colors. They want to be the first. Is this to say that all of them are equally guilty? No. You're not allowed to do that. No false equivalencies. Sorry, doesn't work like that. Some are worse at it than others. And look into places like Media Bias Fact Check to get an idea of the nature of a source. Breitbart is not an official or even useful source. They are a source of misinformation, and that's it. Fox News, pretty much the same. Don't listen to you can listen to actual local Fox News, but you cannot listen to the talking heads on fucking cable. And you know what? Even though I'm a left-leaning person, CNN is the same. Yes, they often talk about the stuff that is biased in my direction, and I get that, and that is why I gravitate, but I'm aware of it. And I'm aware of it enough that I seek out information from other sources. And then I also try to find other places that will label them, whether or not they are essentially too sensationalist, or if they don't get their facts right most of the time, or whatever. Media Bias Fact Check, all sides. Both of those two sites are really good for understanding that stuff. I'm going to put in the It's Okay to Be Smart video about the vaccine. I can't do all your homework for you. I'll do a little bit. And I'll see if I can find maybe a playlist of the Steve Mold, Electro Boom, chain fountain situation. Because if you can understand that video, that series of it, and I highly recommend it. It's both entertaining, fascinating. But if you can get through that series, understand what happened, look at some of the comments, because they're not going to be, oh my God, this person is so brave for doing something so controversial type shit. It's going to be, hey, I'm thinking that there may be another alternative, or hey, there's another source that kind of contradicts and or otherwise blah, 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 blah. It's true communication. It's true dialogue. It's not self-aggrandizing. Like, yeah, there's a little bit of that just within the videos itself and sometimes within the comments, but it's more fun not dealing with something that's real. And hell, I'll even throw in a little video from Hank Green talking about the possibility that ivermectin in the future could actually be a source of COVID prevention. But he's better at saying what needs to be said, so that's why you should watch his too. So you've got a little homework to do. Have fun.